Hey guys, welcome to our new episode of News Bust. And today we're going to talk about coronavirus, flood issues, Disney and Scarlett Johansson's lawsuits, and fake news.
So for the first story, I will be talking about the latest news of the coronavirus in London, where Sadiq Khan is trying to persuade the government that failing to wear a mask in the tube should actually become a criminal offense. The Mayor of London is lobbying the government to allow Transport for London to introduce a new bylaw requiring face covering to be worn across the city's transport network. This would include, in turn, that the rules should be put back before the same rules should be put back in place before the so-called Freedom Day on July 19th. This would include the empowerment of police officers, where they get to refuse travel and fine those who decline to wear masks but are not exempt. Mr. Khan has previously told the BBC Newscast podcast that they are trying to lobby the government to allow them to bring in a bylaw, which will make it a law again, so that they can issue a penalty fixed notice using the police services in the BTP to enforce this law. By insisting that this would bolster the confidence of the commuters and visitors to the London West End. The cited Imperial College of London shows studies that the example of COVID on surfaces or airflow on the tube. The government made masks a personal choice in England from July 19th, but the London mayor has actually kept them as a condition of carriage on tubes and buses in the capital, and a move backed by 5 other Labour regional mayors. So what do you think?
Well, I think they should do this, and they actually must wear a mask all the time. And I think if people don't wear a mask in the tube, I think maybe they could be exempt, like the police officers could give them penalty because right now we're in the pandemic situation, and I think it's really important to wear the mask like no matter where you go. And for example, in Korea, you can't go inside anywhere if you're not wearing a mask. So to prevent like more contact with other people. And I think that should be also in any other country. And for tube, like it's like lots of people use it, right? And it's really crowded there. And I think it has more chances of getting COVID, even though I don't get why there was no single example of COVID from tube or the subway. But I still think that they should actually give the penalty of not wearing mask in the tube because it's really important to wear a mask like no matter where you go. So yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with the opinion that so right now London or the UK has actually lifted most of their
Hmm.
laws that they placed during the pandemic, which actually lets the people become a lot more free. Although I do agree that actually putting them in transport would be a good idea, considering how crowded it is, as you
Hmm.
previously stated. However, I think making it a criminal offense to not put it on is going a bit too far, in my opinion, because it,
Yeah,
it is
maybe
a
that's
personal
true.
it's a personal choice.
But to
Do
be
you agree?
honest, maybe going to like criminal is too much, but like it
Yeah.
can't be only personal choice because COVID-19, like COVID could spread like to other people so easily. So maybe not putting as a criminal, but like for example, say if you don't wear your mask, you're not allowed to do the like go to the tube, maybe like this.
Yeah, I remember I saw it. I don't remember where I saw that, but I remember
Hmm.
reading somewhere that I was actually put in a place. Oh, yeah, I think in Spain actually, you're allowed to walk like outside without a mask, but when you go
Oh.
indoors, you have to wear a mask, or else you're not allowed inside.
Hmm.
So they could do something like that, but for the tubes and
Yeah.
buses, so the overall network,
I think that would
transport
work better.
network in London.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then moving on to the next story. It is the it is about flood and a new research showing millions of more at risk of flooding. So, a new study shows that the percentage of the global population at risk from flooding has risen by almost a quarter since the year 2000. Satellite images were used to document the rise, which is far greater than had been predicted by computer models before. The analysis shows that migration and a growing number of flood events are behind the rapid increase. And by 2030, millions more will experience increased flooding due to climate and demographic changes, according to the study. And according to the researchers, flooding is the environmental disaster that impacts more people than any other. But and that view has echoed around the world in the recent weeks with with huge inundations destroying lives and property. And Germany and China record downpours overwhelmed defenses amid arguments about levels of preparation. And one of the challenges with flooding, according to the researchers, is that most maps of where the waters will likely penetrate are based on models. These simulate floods based on information such as elevation, rainfall, and data from ground sensors. However, they have significant limitations, which is that they fail to consider population or infrastructure changes and are unable to predict random events such as dam breaches. And so, yeah, this is it. So eventually, the researchers think that the flood events are going to increase, and therefore there will be more increased damages in populations and infrastructures.
Yeah,
So
so I think that this really comes or goes to show. I think it's comes to show
yeah, it comes to
really
show.
comes to show. Okay, it really comes to show the impact and the influence that climate change has on the world, and how really we have to act now to try and prevent such catastrophes from happening in the future. As you said, was it scientists are they're predicting more floods in the future? Was it?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Yeah.
because of the
So
climate
like
change.
yeah, due to climate change. So that's why I think like now we're already having quite a few problems due to climate change. But if the number of incidents that we're having will actually increase, it will be very problematic in the future. As yeah.
True, and also if that happens a lot, we'll eventually have nowhere to go in this earth,
Exactly.
and it would eventually create more damages to the environment, be which
Yeah.
will get worse, right? Yeah.
Plus, like destruction of land will eventually cause
Hmm.
more migration to happen, or like will
True,
cause people to
migration.
move to like other countries, which will actually cause increases of population in certain countries, which will then lead to a increase of pollution.
Yeah, popular. Yeah, and so like it will be like a circle. Like it will like continue like infinitely.
Yeah,
So
it's like a
so I think it's really important to like stop right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure certain acts have already been done, but like
Hmm.
actions against climate change have been
Then
have started to be taken.
yeah.
And so that really like, but I think more should be done.
It's not enough yet to
Yeah, yeah,
actually stop, like, yeah, prevent those catastrophes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So moving on to the next topic. I'll be talking about the lawsuit that Scarlett Johansson
Hmm.
has actually sued against Disney. Um, yeah. So the story goes that Scarlett Johansson recently sued Disney, the parent company of Marvel Studios, for choosing the simultaneous release model for her standalone, the Black Widow, like the Black Widow movie, um, and and like having it released on Disney Plus at the same time. This actually, according to the Wall Street Journal, actually shows that she lost as much as $50 million in bonuses due to the simultaneous releasing of both the movie and the streaming. Disney has come down hard, taking exception to the lawsuit that it claims that has no merit whatsoever, as the lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, as the statement said. However, the truth is that it's strange that not a single Marvel actor is coming to Johansson's defense. While Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige is
Hmm.
said to be angry and embarrassed, as per the Hollywood Reporter, and even has not spoken publicly. This is in stark contrast to what happened when the Guardians of Galaxy star, Chris Pratt, was surrounded by allegations that he followed a church that is known for homophobia and hatred for the LGBTQ community. In this issue, there were big wings such as Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner, and James Gunn that actually expressed their support for Pratt. In comparison, there has been no statement whatsoever in support of Johansson yet. This then brings on the question that perhaps the actress potentially continuing association with Disney for upcoming projects makes them reluctant to offend the media giant. However, one could potentially argue that Johansson's case is far more serious than just mere accusation. For one thing, it sheds light on how female actors in Hollywood, no matter how popular, are still paid less than their male counterparts. One would wonder if Downey Jr. or Hemsworth would ever need to make legal action against Disney to be paid fair. Yeah. What do you think?
Okay, well, I think that it's really complicated because like we don't really know what really happened, right? But like I think Scarlett Johansson maybe had the reason to actually like start the lawsuit against the Disney. But it's really weird that none of her like colleagues, like her like other actors are actually standing up for her. And maybe that's because, like you said, because it's maybe Scarlett Johansson is the only, not only, but like she is like a female actor in Hollywood. Maybe she got different, like, you know, but like different attention from like the directors. But yeah, I think it's really controversial. Like, I don't really know what to say because I don't really know what happened, right? But like maybe both of them has reasons. Maybe they're like misunderstandings, but I thought I don't. Yeah, that's I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, but I remember I read it somewhere, so I'm not entirely sure this
Mm-hmm.
is accurate, but I read somewhere that actually it was a breach of contract or something along those
Oh.
lines, where what was it? Like in the contract it said that
Mm-hmm.
she was supposed to get the full, like you couldn't release the two at the same time, you know? Because
Yeah.
in reality you do lose money, since that would mean that less people would actually pay to watch
Mm-hmm.
the movie. The movie's great, by the way. Have you watched it?
No, not yet. I'm so sad.
Oh yeah.
I'm probably gonna watch it.
Um, so, yeah, so for example, if you had Disney Plus, rather than going to the
Mm-hmm.
movies to watch it, you could have just stayed at home and watched the movie on Disney Plus.
True.
You know, so there is a significant loss of money, as said by the Wall Street Journal, where she had lost
Mm-hmm.
actually $50 million.
Yeah, that being said, it kind of makes sense why she actually started the lawsuit. But like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like yeah.
Yeah. So our third story is about how fake, how a fake network pushes pro-China propaganda. So a sprawling network of more than 350 fake social media profiles is pushing pro-China narratives and attempting to discredit those seen as opponents of China's government. The aim is to delegitimize the West and boost China's influence and image overseas, according to the report by the Center of Information Resilience, which is CIR. The study shared with the BBC found that the network of fake profiles circulated garish cartoons depicting, among others, exiled Chinese tycoon Gu Wengyi, an outspoken critic of China. Other controversial figures featured in the cartoons included whistleblower scientist Li Mengyan and Steve Bannon, former political strategist for Donald Trump. Each of these individuals has themselves been accused of spreading disinformation, including false information about the COVID-19. Some of the accounts spread across Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook use fake AI-generated profile pictures, while others appear to have been hijacked after previously posting in other languages. and there is no concrete evidence that the network is linked to the Chinese government. But according to the CIR, a non-profit group which works to counter disinformation, it resembles pro-China networks previously taken by Twitter and Facebook. These networks amplified pro-China narratives, similar to those promoted by Chinese state representatives and state media. Much of the content shared by the network focuses on the US, and in particular on divisive issues like gun laws and race politics. One of the narratives pushed by the network paints the US as having a poor human rights record. Posts from the fake account cite the murder of George Floyd among examples, as well as discrimination against Asians. The CIR mapped hashtags favored by previously identified networks, unearthing more accounts that showed signs of being part of an influence operation. Telltale signs included high levels of activity, pushing propaganda narratives, and repeated use of the same hashtags. Newly created accounts with usernames that appeared to be randomly generated, and accounts with very few followers also raised red flags. And so, yeah, that's it. What's your opinion about this issue? You're muted again.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, okay. So first of all, it's a pretty complicated topic, honestly. But the fact that people are using fake accounts for propaganda, I think is something actually pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Not like unethical to some extent.
Yeah, so especially because like right now, like especially the teenagers who are like lots of people are using social media as their like daily routine, and it's like something normal for them to use, and especially because they're using this type of like doing this propaganda through the social media. I think it's more unethical, and it's really dangerous for people.
Yeah, plus like the age in which people they start using social medias is really decreasing. So like now I know 10-year-olds that are using social media, while back
Yeah.
when I was 10, only people who were like 13 over were using it. But still
Mm.
13 is pretty young. So like, you have a lot of young people on social medias while their brain is still developing. They're still kind of learning about the world, forming their own opinions. And the fact that they're exposed to such propaganda could really influence the way in which they'll see or their perspectives in the future,
Yeah,
So it is
especially
really
like
dangerous, as you said.
especially like they're really young right now, and they really can identify among the true and like false news, like fake news. I
Yeah.
think it's really, yeah, I think it's really
It's
risky.
it's easier to believe something that's fake than is true. But
Mm-hmm.
then already for like us, we'd rather like there's studies showing that humans would rather believe something that it's a lie than the truth. So already
Yeah.
for like grown-ups, it's hard for them to really follow the truth. So for kids, it's even harder since like, you know, they're not
Mm-hmm.
they have less experience and
Fully
stuff.
developed yet. Yeah.
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 So
So that's it.
well, yeah, thank you for watching, and well, we'll see you next time
And
for
stay safe.
yeah, stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.